So, good morning and welcome to Today in Black History. I'm Alicia Melton, and today we're going to talk about um, the African American Music Month. So, today and the entire month of June, we celebrate African American Music Appreciation Month, also known as Black Music Month. Good morning, Kayla Dixon and official Deep Fried Funk Band, Lyric Theater, my MIA. We're talking about African American Music Appreciation Month, also known as Black Music Month. Um, the name was recently changed when President Obama was in office, so it was changed to African American Music Month. But the original name was Black Music Month, and you're gonna probably hear you're gonna hear me say Black Music Month mostly since that's how the history started. All right, so let's get started. In 1979, President Jimmy Carter designated June as Black Music Month. He hosted the first Black Music Month event at the White House. All right, and so the event took place. It was actually June 6th of 1979, and the event took place on the White House lawn, and it included a dinner and a concert. And the performers were gospel singer Sarah Jordan Powell, Andre Crouch, jazz singer Billy Eckstine, disco singer Evelyn Champagne King, and Chuck Berry. So this was the first time that this had happened um, at the White House, and there was a guest list of at least 1,000 people, mostly business leaders, performing artists, and broadcasters, people that was in the um, music industry. All right, let's keep it moving. Okay, so it was a collective effort by the Black Music Association. The Black Music Association was a group of music professionals, and that included your record company executives, your people in marketing, DJs, music journalists, artists, of course, performers, um, radio personalities, and TV personalities. And you also had three people who was leading this effort. One is Kenny Gamble. Kenny Gamble is a very popular producer, songwriter, co-owner of Philadelphia International Records. Um, and he is known for his him and his partner is known for the sound of Philadelphia. And so some of you may be familiar with you. He's been around a long time, but may be familiar with some of his music. And you mostly hear the last name Gamble and Huff. And so let me know also in the comment section if you have any favorite songs that was written by Hamble and Guff, Gamble and Huff. Um, Also, who was leading this effort was Ed Wright, who was a popular DJ in Cleveland, Ohio. And then you have Dianna Williams, who's also is a music um, professional who actually Dianna Williams, um, if you watch Unsung on TV1, which is a documentary series that talks about the careers of artists, you would often see her being interviewed talking about some of the artists she has worked with in the past. Um, so you had these group of people who were supporting this effort to designate um, June as Black Music Month. And since 1979, there has been some recognition of Black music throughout the country at record labels and various corporations. So, moving forward, Dianna Williams, who really led this effort, Dianna Williams, uh, oh, let me stop. Let me go back. So, I mentioned earlier that in 1979, Jimmy Carter designated this June as Black Music Month, but it was not official until 2000. And I'm going to read what happened. Dianna Williams wrote to President Bill Clinton in 1998 to invite him to host a Black Music Month event at the White House. So it would be a similar event what happened with President Carter. She was informed that while President Carter had declared June as Black Music Month, he did not sign a presidential proclamation. So it wasn't official. The White House suggested that she lobby Congress to obtain that legislation. She went from office to office on Capitol Hill explaining why Black music and Black Music Month needed to be acknowledged by Congress. Congressman Shaka Fatah of Philadelphia introduced the introduced the bill to the House of Representatives. Dianna wrote the draft that eventually became the legislation that was passed in Congress, called the African American Music Bill, and it stated that June is Black Music Month. So moving forward, the nation was set aside that the month of June was designated to appreciate the musical contributions of African American musicians, composers, singers, songwriters, and also its economic impact, producing billions of dollars in the music industry. So how many of you, just let me know in the comment section, how many of you were aware of Black Music Month? And if you were aware, how do you, or how have you in the past celebrated Black Music Month, whether it was attending a festival, you saw a program on television, you attended a lecture, or you attended concerts. So just let me know what you have done in the past to celebrate Black Music Month. Now, I do know there is a program because of the pandemic. We know we probably would not be able to attend any concert or anything that has that will require a big crowd. But TV1 on June 21st, they are airing a documentary called The Beat Don't Stop. And this would tell the history of go-go music. And go-go music is, that sound is known from Washington, D.C. So if you're interested, make sure you check out that documentary, which is part of their celebration of Black Music Month. All right. Also, I don't see any in the comments. All right. So another way that you attended a concert. Okay. What was the name of that concert? Also, I wanted to mention something else about how we can celebrate Black Music Month, not just in the month of June, but year round. How many of you are familiar with the National Museum of African American Music? So, the National Museum of African American Music has not opened yet, but this is a museum that will preserve and tell the history of Black music and its influence. And I'm just going to read a little bit about this museum. In 2002, members of the Nashville Area Chamber of Commerce proposed the idea of a National Museum of American Music as a way to celebrate and preserve the influence African Americans had on music. The National Museum of African American Music will be the only museum dedicated to preserving and celebrating the many music genres created, influenced, and inspired by African Americans. The museum's curated collections will share the story of the American soundtrack by integrating history and interactive technology to bring musical heroes of the past into the present. Their vision for this museum is to be the premier global destination for music lovers of all generations and inspire, educate, and transform your appreciation of American music. Their mission is to educate the world, preserve the legacy, and celebrate the central role African Americans play in creating the American soundtrack. So those of you who just joined us, we're talking about African American Music Appreciation Month, also known as Black Music Month, and I asked a question about how do you celebrate Black Music Month, how you celebrated in the past, and how you're going to celebrate it this month. And one of the ways to celebrate is visiting the National Museum of African American Music. Now, this museum will not open, it's set to open Labor Day weekend, but of course we know that can change. And so going back to the history of Black Music Month, I've mentioned some of the people and groups who were leading that effort, which was the Black Music Association, Kenny Gamble, Dianna Williams, and Ed Wright. All right, so let me keep moving on. The museum's permanent collection reflects the culture of African Americans and their music history. Its holdings include instruments, stage costumes, sheet music, recording equipment, and photographs. Each of the museum galleries is designed to share a different narrative and a unique perspective on African American music and history. The museum features touch panel interactives and animated timelines that link American history with American music history. The museum will tell the story of how a distinct group of people use their artistry to impact and change the world. Also, part of the museum, there will be a research library. They will have educational programs like master classes, music workshops, emerging artists. Labor Day weekend, and this is in Nashville, Tennessee. And some of the genres that you would learn that we have influenced, or Black musicians have influenced, the genres would be gospel, jazz, blues, R&B, soul, funk, disco, rock and roll, house, techno, and hip hop. So more information to learn more about the National Museum of African American Music, please visit their website. So I did see, so I asked the question again for those who just joined. I asked for you to share, how do you celebrate Black Music Month? How have you celebrated Black Music Month in the past? And I see the M Ensemble attended the Blues Festival at the African American Heritage Cultural Arts Center every year. Okay, so that's good. So make sure, I'm pretty sure the African American Heritage Cultural Arts Center always has events, and make sure we support them. Anyone else who would like to share, how do they celebrate Black Music Month? I made an announcement that TV One on June 21st will show a documentary titled "The Beat Don't Stop," and it would be about go-go music, which they named Chuck Brown as the godfather of go-go music, and it's the sound of Washington, D.C. Anyone else who would like to share how they celebrate Black Music Month? So it's been 41 years where we have celebrated Black Music Month. And for those who just attended, it started in 1979 with President Carter. Okay, so I don't see any more comments. Okay, so thank you for watching. Tomorrow is Jeopardy Noir at 2 p.m. and I will see you next week at 11 o'clock. Thanks for watching. Be safe and take care.